Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
There's a great movie called The Departed, a little violent for kids, but there's a scene in the movie where Mark Wahlberg, they're on a stakeout, and somehow the guy loses the guy that they're tracking, and Wahlberg's all upset and yelling at the guy, and the guy looks up and he says, "Well, who are you?" And Wahlberg says, I'm the guy doing my job. You must be the other guy. Sometimes I feel like saying to these guys, I'm the guy doing my job. You must be the other guy.
All right, folks, welcome back. That's the president joining us. And by the way, as Noah Rothman will attest to, as we welcome in Noah Rothman, associate editor of HotAir.com. Noah, welcome. I believe we have the next bite, which is actually from the movie. It should be a short little bite if we have it with the bleeps on it. Anyway, long story short, the line he quoted from, he said it's a violent movie, but that line is surrounded by the F word in the movie. So, I mean, it should. Can it get any more beneath a president? What we're seeing here, the Obama road show lately with stops, wherever he stops, it's the same spiel?
Yeah, it's the perennial campaign. It's the perpetual campaign. There's almost very little substance left to this presidency, this administration. There's been a variety of controversies over the course of the last half year, and all of them, the president has done everything he can to really distance himself from them, not address them, not be too closely associated with them, just really kind of playing out the clock and revving up his supporters with really infuriating and misleading statements like, I'm the only one who's doing my job here, when it's the precise opposite. Congress has been
unbelievable. Who put the
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you wrote about that at Hot Air. By the way, I think that was Wahlberg trying to get through. Okay, Wahlberg, calm down, we got you. Here it is, just so the folks could see what the president was actually referring to.
Unbelievable. Who put the cameras in this place? Oh, who the are you? I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy.
He must be the other guy. So that's it. So he picks a line from a movie surrounded by the F word. It doesn't end. But you say, like you said, after the midterm elections, how much worse could it get after the midterm elections? What's it going to just not be seen?
Yeah, well, he certainly won't be a real entity as far as the American political scene goes. Presidents tend to be really lame ducks after their second midterm election, and we expect nothing less of this president. But it seems like lame duckness has really settled in pretty early, and he seems to be doing everything he can to welcome it. Again, this is something that really frustrates us, people who follow politics for a living. We know that the House has passed 3 times as many bills as the Senate has, and yet it's the Republican House that gets blamed for being the least active Congress in modern history. We understand that the president has done everything he can not to address these border crises, for example, the crisis in Ukraine, the crisis in the border, the crisis in the VA. He's doing everything he can to distance himself from that. And all the while, the Democratic Party, the post-Obama Democratic Party, is beginning to take shape. They're starting to really distance themselves from the president. He seems to be welcoming it. This is just behavior that's really not normal, that we're not familiar with for somebody who wants to be active in the political scene, who wants to protect his legacy. There doesn't seem to be any safeguarding of the Obama legacy from this White House. It's inexplicable.
It is inexplicable. Let's shift gears and talk about a column that you wrote about that was presented by Kelly Goff, who I've had on this show, and we've had some heated debate and heated discussion. And you think it's a very important piece that she wrote. Explain.
Yeah, this is not a conservative columnist, Kelly Goff. She writes for The Root. She writes for the Daily Beast. She's pretty liberal down the line for the most part, but she had a really honest column today calling out what is effectively a strain of intolerance among African Americans towards other African Americans who come out as Republicans or worse, run as Republican candidates for political office. I thought it was very honest. It was pretty forthright. It centers on the defacing of a Republican congressional candidate from Florida, an African-American woman who saw her campaign literature defaced and was painted in whiteface. And she did a pretty good job of creating a picture about how this is really a trend. That wasn't just a random event. There's really insulting, inflammatory, and racially based rhetoric between African Americans, calling out in really insensitive terms people who are Republicans who happen to be black. And I think that's a really important thing because it's coming from a source that can't be necessarily immediately dismissed among liberals and among Democrats because it's coming from one of their own. It was a good column. I think everybody should read it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Let's talk about The View, if we can, and the return of Rosie O'Donnell. You know, on one hand, Disney, you know, it's important for Disney. They pride themselves on being a gay-friendly company to the point where they have gay days at Disney and Disney World, etc. Yet on the other hand, they're bringing back a woman who, you know, it implied at the very, and that's being generous, implied that the U.S. and their troops were terrorists in Iraq, said outright that radical Christianity is just as dangerous as radical Islam. I don't even know what radical Christianity is, to be honest with you, when you want to hold it up to radical Islam. And you know, and the list goes on, doubting that 9/11 was real in some sense. The buildings that she said couldn't have possibly have melted down, implying that people put bombs in there and the government knew about it. How does a company like Disney and ABC, you know, reconcile their reputation and their supposed concerns and family-friendly in bringing back Rosie?
Oh, it's easy. Nobody but you and I are going to talk about it. No one's going to call this company out on this. You referenced it. She sort of implied, danced around it. She's a full-on 9/11 truther. She was on that program saying it, quote-unquote, defies physics for the trade centers to have collapsed as they did. And she's never renounced her 9/11 trutherism, to my knowledge. She may have, but I'm not aware of it. And if she was, let's put the shoe on the other foot. Let's say she was a really committed birther. And the program has had Donald Trump on before, who has also never renounced his birtherism. But I can't imagine the company would face zero backlash if they were to hire a woman who was committed to that position. Let's say they had Orly Tates. They wanted to put Orly Tates in that program. You imagine the outcry that would happen on the left. And yet there's just very little of it with this Rosie issue because she's of the protected intellectual class, which is those on the left.
Yeah, absolutely. Noah, always enjoy talking to you, sir. Have a great weekend, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Noah Rothman, associate editor of HotAir.com. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, yeah, you know, we did the Give Me Five on Rosie yesterday, and it's just we could do a whole show on Rosie and things that she said, and not the least of which is the fact that she stopped her wife from breastfeeding a baby that her wife gave birth to because Rosie couldn't bond with her that way. So she said, "I cut it off." Proudly, she said that. I made her stop breastfeeding her own baby. That's the kind of person I believe we're dealing with. We're coming back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away.